All right, well, welcome everybody. Welcome to an evening with Robert here on GHTR, the nation's podcast radio, talking to you from Grand Haven, Michigan, and it's a beautiful day out. We had a lot of rain out here in Grand Haven today, and it was kind of humid out here and doing a lot of different things and all that other crazy stuff that happens in this town. You know what I'm saying? It's just like really a fun deal. Went to Joe's Wood Nickel last night and had a couple beers there with, actually I got to talk to Joe and it was pretty amazing. You can go to surfgrandhaven.com and you can look at the live webcam. That's www.surfgrandhaven.com. And right now, temperature outside is 61 degrees, and it is a beautiful picture of the pier out there on Lake Michigan. Kind of a little bit like a little fog coming in over there. Let's hope it's not a bad fog. The story we're going to have tonight, our special guest. But anyway, I got a real special guest with me tonight. His name is John Brightman. He's a founder of New England Paranormal Research. I was just talking to him, and this guy has an amazing story. And he's with me right now. So how you doing, John?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Man. So how's the weather over where you're at right now?
It is very, very comfortable right now. It's about 63, 62 degrees. Nice cool night, bright, clear night. It's right. Very, very nice out.
So you're one of those paranormal ghost hunters, huh?
Yes, that's what I do. That's what I am.
So,
I love it. Amongst a bunch of other things, but yes, yeah. I am.
So, are there things that go bump in the night?
Things that go bump in the night have been very, very busy for me.
Yeah, they usually are. You know, one of our really good friends, Brenda Whitehouse, she's actually, our PR specialist here on GHTR. She's a paranormal investigator herself, and she kind of gives me a few stories here and there, she's one of those people that you kind of have to believe. And I was like, I hear a lot of stories. I've watched Ghost Adventures. I've watched all sorts of other paranormal shows. One of my first ones I actually started out watching was Paranormal State. Was the first one. And
really,
that was actually the first show that I ever watched, and I was kind of like, wow, that was a pretty good show. I thought it was a pretty good show. I mean, and then of course the other one, Ghost Hunters, and then Ghost Adventures and stuff like that. But never watched the Ghost Adventures that often because I just kind of, by that time I was a little burned out on the paranormal by that time. So. But I know that Brenda's got the hots.
I'd have to say my first show that I ever watched was, and you'll probably laugh, but it was MTV. They had a show called Fear.
Oh no!
It was all basically paranormal related. If anybody's ever seen it, that's into the paranormal, they'll sit there and think back about it, and it's funny because most of the places that you've watched. Ghost Hunters, Ghost Adventures, you name the show, they've probably been to their location. One of the first episodes that I ever saw, they wouldn't release the name of the prison that they were at, but it had what they called the Sugar Shack, which was a huge down below hole that they put prisoners in.
Oh, really?
Well, anybody that knows anything about paranormal knows that the Sugar Shack is West Virginia State Penitentiary.
Oh, really?
So it's funny how it's funny how, watching that back then, they wouldn't release the name of the location. And basically what they did is they stuck 6 people in the location, gave them cameras, shoulder packs, and you had a task. Whether it was you go to a certain location where supposedly a murder in the location or somebody's seen a spirit and it's haunted, and you had to stay there for 20 minutes or 40 minutes or even 2 hours collecting evidence and talking to the spirits, whether it be do a Ouija board session or just sit there in complete silence and listen. And they would literally tell you horror stories before you went out on your own and see if you could last. If you couldn't last, then you got kicked off the show. It was kind of interesting, to think that that's where paranormal reality TV kind of came from back in the mid-'90s to what it is now.
Right. Well, Paranormal State to me was it was an exciting show But what I really hated is I hated the climaxes. Like, they'd get right to the point where something, then they'd make it like, then go to commercial. I was like, oh, God, I hate that. And it's like, freaking fast forward through the DVR and get to the next one. It's just like, good God, I hated that. But, so, tell me, how did you get your start? Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and who you are and how you got to where you're at?
Well, I founded the group quite a while ago, about 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, how I got to start was my family owns land in the Freetown State Forest, which is within the Bridgewater Triangle. As a kid, I didn't know of the Bridgewater Triangle, didn't know what that was. But the Freetown State Forest has a lot of history behind it, dating back to the Pilgrims and the Indians with what they call the King Philip's War, all the way up to present day with suicides and cult murders that have happened out there. So growing up as a kid, I heard a lot of these stories, and it always made me wonder. And, I think I was about 16 or 17 when I finally asked my grandfather, who owned the land, I said, did this stuff really happen out there? And he finally sat me down one day and told me some of the stories that he had heard and how a lot of it was true. And so when I'd be riding my quad or my dirt bike out there, and I've got a 10,000 square forest, 10-acre forest in my backyard, I'm going to ride everywhere I can, whenever I can, and I see little things out of the corner of my eye. I'm not like saying that I'm psychic, but I might see a shadow person, or at the time I didn't know what it was, but I'm using that now. But I could have seen a shadow person, or I could have saw what was like a real person standing there, and it just kind of made me wonder what was out there. It very much interested me. So as I got older, I watched all these shows because I was interested in it, and then lo and behold, the house that I live in now, we were doing some construction, typical things. We were putting on a back deck at the house, and as we were doing some of this stuff, things started happening. So we called up a few friends of ours and had them come over and do an investigation, because they had been doing this before. And they called me the next day, and they're like, you're not going to believe what we got. And I went over the house, listened to it, and they got 2 substantial Class A EVPs saying, we asked the question, are you a male or a female? And we got, I'm a guy. And then we got another one saying, welcome to Cardone, which Cardone is Spanish for base. So it was kind of interesting what we got, and obviously I got wrapped up into the research of finding out why somebody would say that they welcome to my base on my property, and that's when I learned more about the King Philip's War. That's when I learned about the Bridgewater Triangle, and it just kind of sucked me in from there, wanting to learn more. And that's when I got a group of guys together and said, what, we got the forest. We got this place called the Bridgewater Triangle in our backyard. Why not let's go investigate it and start our own group? And that's how we started out. And since then, it's just been a crazy, wild ride since then.
Oh, wow. Now, that Bridgewater Triangle, now, why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
So the Bridgewater Triangle is a 200 square mile area that basically in 1974, 75, a gentleman named Warren Coleman heard about this area, heard about all these different sightings of Bigfoot, Thunderbirds, anything from giant pumas and giant snakes being found in the area. He's a cryptozoologist. So he wanted to find out about it, and as he researched it more and more, he found that there was even more activity than what he was hearing about the crypto animals, that there was paranormal activity, that there was murders and cult killings and suicides going on in this area.
Right.
People saying that they see ghostly figures. So he came up here from Florida to research it, and he ended up moving up here permanently. And in one of his books that he published, he did a huge write-up about this area. And at the time, Charles Berlitz had just been writing and publishing books of the Bermuda Triangle, so he figured he would kind of coin this area to call it the Bridgewater Triangle, since that was such a popular subject. So this area is basically the most northern point being Abington, the southwestern point being Rehoboth, Mass., southeastern point being Freetown, Mass. And now today, you could probably say instead of being a triangle, it's more of an octagon shape. There's places inside the triangle that don't have any reports, and there's places that are on the outskirts or outside of the triangle that there's a ton of activity. So in this point in day, I tend to think that the triangle's grown, and it's not so much of a triangle anymore. But the proper terms and the guidelines are that of what I had mentioned. So people have said everything from, you know, in the Freetown area, we've had 3 cult killings. A gentleman that the name is Carl Drew is sitting in prison right now for accused of murdering 3 females, one that he took the head completely off of. He was a pimp in the city of Fall River in New Bedford, and if his prostitutes didn't make money for him, he would basically kill them. So there's that. There's also what they believe mob hits in the 40s and 50s. We have an area called the Freetown Ledge that's about 150-foot cliff that drops down into water. During the 80s, kids would push cars off there to kind of do insurance jobs, and as divers were going down to get the cars, they were pulling bodies up out of the water. So they believe it was mob hits. But there's also been sightings of paranormal at this location, of Indians climbing the rock wall. There's been sightings of the urban legend of the Lady of the Ledge. And then along just in general of just people committing suicide there, and they say that friends say that they were fine, nothing was wrong with them, and they just got up, walked to the edge, and jumped. Of course, people tied that in with the urban legends of the Indians cursed the place because they took the land, and or people took the land from the Indians and they cursed the land. So anybody that goes up there and they're doing something that they shouldn't be, the spirits of the Indians take over and they make you do bad things. There's things like that. And then, like I said, just in general, the Bigfoot sightings in the area, Pukwudgie sightings, things like that. So it's a pretty strange area.
Now, are you saying that basically this whole area is like kind of maybe like a porthole or something like that to bad crap? Or, I mean...
some people have said that. Some people have said, could this be a portal or a black hole or some way for bad spirits and bad energy to transfer and communicate through? I don't know. I don't truly believe that. I think it's some type of a portal or a black hole or however you want to call it. It's just a lot of strange occurrences that have happened in this area. And it's a big area, but it's not a big area. It's not like, the whole state of Texas or a whole state of Florida. I mean, you're talking a relatively small area, even though it's 200 square miles. It's still a relatively small area that it encompasses. So with how much that's going on here and the people's sightings, I mean, you have to believe in the Bridgewater Triangle. There's no reason not to, because there's too many people that are seeing things. And we just released a documentary that I was very lucky to be part of. It's titled The Bridgewater Triangle, and there's a gentleman that for the longest time held this story. And if anybody's seen the documentary or wants to see it, you'll be able to see the story in there. But there's a gentleman that basically, he was a police officer. He'd come home from work one night, and he was walking his dog at midnight, and they decided not to go the normal way that they normally walk. They went a different way, and as they were headed back home, the dog started barking, and he could see something standing in the distance underneath like a telephone pole light. And he started walking towards it, and this little creature, about 3 foot tall, all furry, and at first he was thinking, maybe it was somebody in costume. He didn't know what it was. It kept looking at him and had its hand out, almost like motioning it for it to come here. And it started saying something. And he couldn't understand what it was saying. It was almost in like a different language.
Right.
He got pretty close to what he saw, like within contact of it, and then it just disappeared. Well, there's the urban legend of our area that's called a Pukwudgie, which is a mythical creature that the Indians believed in.
All right.
And a lot of people stay there in this area. Well, he is the one witness that I totally believe that he actually saw what he saw. He has no reason to make it up. He's now retired from the police department. He held this quiet even after he retired. The only body that knew about this was his immediate family. And through research, the directors found this gentleman and spoke with him and convinced him to come out with his story. He didn't want to talk about it because he was afraid people would think he was nuts. So that's the type of people that I really, truly believe have seen what they've seen and are being honest about it, because they're not looking to gain anything from it. They were actually think that they're nuts talking about it.
Right. Well, I mean, I've heard of places like this. As a matter of fact, I actually, a good friend of mine who is a paranormal investigator was telling me that he was actually over in the battlefield of in Gettysburg or someplace like that, and he said that, he could feel. I mean, he said, he was. I think he was there, and it was a something in the morning. You know what I'm saying? That he told me,
Mm-hmm.
he said that, he was standing there, and he goes, you could just feel like the it's like the air got really like, thick and stuff like that.
Heavy and thick.
Yeah, and he says, he goes, you could feel like a lot of things happened here at this battlefield and stuff like that. Another friend of mine, this one's even more kind of gets up there to where I would love to go there. I'd actually, if I had the money, I would fund one of the biggest paranormal teams to go over there. But I'd like to go, where we landed on D-Day, where in the first day, 5,000 men lost their lives on that beach. And I have a friend who was over there, and he says to this day, he says, you can still hear people asking, when can they go home? And I said, are you kidding me?
Really?
And I was like, he says, it's like, it's the freakiest thing he's ever seen, or heard and seen. He said, you can see, he told me it's like, he goes, you ever get those little things that go in front of your eye? It looks like a little worm. Like, he says, actually, if you really look, he says, you can actually see these entities going across the beach, like they're wandering on the beach. And I was like, and he goes, and it kind of looks like those little things that go across your eyeball, like lint or something, or a piece of dirt, whatever. He says, that's what it kind of looks like. I was like, wow. So this place you're talking about, 200 square miles. I think I'll stay away from there.
It's big. It's big. And, and I'll be honest, I haven't investigated a lot of it. We've done private residents and private businesses throughout that area that have called us in, and we've done some on the outsides of it. But my main focus, like, there are a lot of people say there's a swamp in the area that's called the Huckabuck Swamp.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the bigger locations within the triangle that a lot of people say paranormal goes on. People have seen the Thunderbirds. People have seen the giant snakes there. They've seen the Bigfoot there. I've just never investigated that area. It's not that I wouldn't. It's just, it's a swamp. It's very murky. It's dark. It stinks. That's one reason. I leave that to the people where the Bigfoot and the cryptozoology, that's their expertise. I leave that to them. I'm more on the paranormal side of things.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I investigate, like I said, the Freetown State Forest quite a bit, because of how many paranormal sightings have gone on. If somebody wanted to take me out there that knew the area, I would probably go out.
Would you go to Normandy?
That's a very good question. 50% of me says yes, I would want to. Then 50% of me says no. And to explain the reason why I say no, not to bring up a bad subject, obviously, but a while back, remember when they had the unfortunate shooting at Sandy Hook School in Connecticut?
Yes.
Well, right after that, and God bless any of the parents if they're listening, and, my heart goes out for them, but right after that, I think it was about 5 days after or 4 days after, there was a couple of paranormal people out of Ohio that were literally posting on Facebook, Twitter, that they wanted to contact the school, go out there. They wanted to investigate it. What better way than to go out and investigate something that's just fresh like that happened? In certain aspects, you've got to have respect for the location. You've got to have respect for the people involved, for the situation involved. Mm-hmm. And it's the same thing with Gettysburg. I've gone down there. I've investigated down there. I won't investigate the battlefields. I have too much respect for the soldiers that fought, no matter what side they were on. And, don't get me wrong, I'll investigate the Jenny Wade House. I'll investigate General Lee's headquarters or the Wax Museum or any of the locations there, but not the battlefield. That's where they fought and gave their lives. And I think with Normandy, it would be a great experience because of the fact that I'm sure there would be a lot of activity. But out of respect for the Americans that died there on that day, on D-Day, I think that I just think out of the respect, we owe it not to disturb them any more than what they already suffer for.
Well, that's a lot of people say that about the Twin Towers area. About
yes.
And matter of fact, I actually know of a paranormal team that is doing. Actually, now I'm not supposed to say anything, but I really don't care because I've read about this, I've heard about it, I've pretty much put my whole heart and soul into this, and there is a team right now that's actually shooting a 16-part documentary about the Twin Towers, and it is a paranormal team. And they,
really?
Yeah, and it's all hush hush and stuff like that. But I've talked to a lot of people, and I've heard a lot of people talk about it, and they say, there comes a point when enough's enough. That a lot of people died, and that that there's probably going to be activity, but I don't know. I don't know if I agree with you on the Normandy thing and stuff like that, and the battlefields, and the respect is there, but in my opinion, you guys are investigators. This is what you do, and this is how, if you can capture these things, these entities, these EVPs, these whatever bit, apparitions or whatever you want to call it, and you put it on film, that brings a lot more people closer. But then again, I kind of get what you're going at, because if you do see something there, then a lot of other people are going to flock there and desecrate the area. So I kind of get what you're talking about.
And that's exactly it. It's not so much, obviously there are investigators out there that would truly show respect to that location, and I know they would. But then there are the other ones that would be, unfortunately in this field, there's the people that truly care about it, and then there's the fly-by-night people. And the fly-by-night people will go in there disrespecting it.
Let's just say untrained.
And yes, exactly. They're not trained correctly, but they go in there with the attitude of, unfortunately they watch the shows. And certain shows, they don't realize it's for reality TV. And they go in there and they mimic everything that some of these shows do. Well, some kind of push the envelope, and they, kind of provoke a lot. They swear a lot. They get angry with the spirits to try and force them to come out. Well, in a situation like Normandy or Gettysburg, you want to get that evidence and you want to be able to showcase it, but when it comes down to them being disrespectful and maybe swearing at them, they gave their life for us, and if that's where they rest, because that's where they are, right, we need to show them respect. And unfortunately, some investigators wouldn't do that. Well, and that's why I'm afraid to do something like that. It's just that it would draw so much attention.
Well, see, that's where this is where I actually, I pretty much told you in the beginning where how I got my deal there, and there were so many paranormal investigators, so many teams out there. As a matter of fact, it's like Blog Talk Radio actually increased by 33% in 1 year, and the 33% was everybody wanting to have their own paranormal show, and there was so much of it. It was just cluttered. And matter of fact, I've listened to you guys' stories and stuff like that, and y'all end up in the same place. You all investigate the same places and stuff like that. And it's become more of a monopoly. I mean, to be honest with you, a lot of these places are charging investigators to come in there now. And I feel I actually feel like, going back to Ghost Hunters, Taps, when they did that in New Hampshire, they did that hotel. I actually heard on TV, at first I heard, there was this princess, and they have actual the EVPs. You could hear her enunciate. You could hear her accent in her voice. And
Washington Hotel. I know exactly which one you're talking about.
Yeah. Brenda tells me all that. And I said to myself, that's got to be fake. That cannot be true. That is just a freaking. Then I spent, I don't know, about 2 weeks just trying to trying to find someone that would, what do they call that? Mount Washington. See, she just told me. Anyway, it's I cannot believe that they captured that. And right then I said to myself, you know what? Don't ever tell me that there's nothing after we die. Don't ever tell me that there's, nothing out there, because they just completely proved it. And
yep.
And not only that, there was go ahead.
I actually got a good story about the Mount Washington Hotel. So I was there doing an event 2 years ago with Taps. They had asked me to come up and do the event, and Chip Coffee was there also. And basically they break up into different locations. Well, I was leading the groups around from spot to spot. I took people from the room that Chip was in, which was the princess room. Now, I had stayed with that group during that part, and some weird things were going on in that room. Mm-hmm. So I was like, all right, this is pretty cool. This is my first time here, getting some activity. Next thing I know, we go up to the attic, and now up in the attic is Adam Berry from Ghost Hunters. We're broken up into different parts up in the attic, and we're walking around. Now, the attic is where the servants lived at the time and everything. Mm-hmm. So we're walking around, and all of a sudden it's time to change groups. And Adam comes up to me and says, hey, where is that female that's wearing a red sweater with a baseball hat? Not a baseball hat, but like a weird like scarf type hat that looked like a baseball hat. It had like a little ball on top.
Right.
I'm like, I haven't seen anybody like that, and nobody's left that's with this group. He's like, I'm telling you, she's here. And I'm like, Adam, I haven't seen nobody like that. And we started asking other people, and 2 other people stepped up and said, we've seen her too. Well, I guess when Adam was working with somebody else in a different area up there in the attic, this woman came out of nowhere, tapped Adam on the shoulder, and said, know what, you'll get your evidence. Keep going, you're doing good. Mm-hmm. And lo and behold, we never seen that woman the rest of the night. We think it was one of the servants that lived in the attic.
Really?
Yep.
See, this is what intrigues me, and this is one of those deals where it takes a lot for me to believe. It's just like I have a good friend of mine who he's a Bigfoot investigator, and he can't tell me. He cannot. He says, "I told you, I've seen it. I swear." I go, "Man, you're my best friend. I believe that you saw something, okay? But I cannot believe that they exist. Prove it to me. No, I don't want to see a footprint. No, I want to see this creature stand before me. And I don't care if he slaps the hell out of me. I don't care. The thing about it is, and this, what this did was, I always have believed in life after death. And I believe that there is something that happens, but that show it was like confirming it. Like, you always speculate, but I remember one time, I don't know who it was who told me, and they said, until you see something with your own eyes, you're never going to believe it. You're always going to be hesitant. Now, I swear to God, what I'm about to say, it's like in my house right now, there's this girl. I know that there's this girl, and she's been here ever since we've been here. Okay, she doesn't cause any problems. She doesn't do anything. But once in a great while, you know how you hear, it's like a deja vu. It's not maybe deja vu, but you hear something and you ask the person, what did you say? you know, and that's what I hear.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember one time, this is kind of funny. My wife, she walked out to the kitchen, and I thought I heard her say, "This is what I thought I heard." I go, "Is she going to clean up her mess?" And I said, "What did you say?" And she goes, "I didn't say nothing." And I'm looking around going, "Now I know damn well you said that, you know." And she goes, "I didn't say nothing." And I'm like, she was already out in the kitchen, but it acted like someone said, "Is she going to clean up her mess?" Yeah. And where did that come from? I don't know. You guys are
that's the thing. That's the thing about this. You know, so many people have personal experiences like that, and they question themselves that, you know, could that really happen? That can't be real, and they're not willing to admit it or tell anybody. But it's funny, you know, we actually talked about this the other day during a lecture. A cop came up to us. We showed the Bridgewater Triangle documentary at a convention that we were just at this week, right after we did a Q&A panel. During the Q&A panel, a cop stood up and said, "You know, I've never really told this to anybody before, but, you know, I just feel it's the right time to, because this happened within the triangle. I'm also a hunter during the winter. I was at this location. I was sitting in my tree stand, and I was looking around, and we shoot. And this time of year, we shoot bow and arrow," he says. So I was turning around to look, and I seen these two guys standing there. He's like, so I just kind of gave them a wave. They waved back. He says, I thought they were hunters. And then I turned around quickly because I didn't hear any footsteps, so I thought I was wondering what they were doing. I turned around quickly, like within a couple of seconds later, they were completely gone.
Oh.
And that's the thing. He's like, you know, I would have never spoke about it, but because we're in like a group setting like this, it's almost like now people will come out and say it,
right,
because there's so many other people that would believe that.
Right.
But in other ways, people don't believe that type of thing.
Well, the thing about it is I actually had a guest on my show not long ago, and he was an atheist, and he didn't believe in any of this, any of it. I mean, I literally had to argue with him. I said, "Look, you know what?" I said, I'll be honest with you. Maybe 10 years ago, you could have convinced me that there is nothing. That's all, you know, in my mind and all this other stuff. But I don't know. I've seen some pretty crazy stuff in the paranormal arena, you know, and I've heard some stuff. And Brenda's not a person that tells a story. One thing about Brenda, I love about Brenda, and no offense to anybody out there who's listening, she don't lie. And when she tells me that there's things out there, I believe what she's telling me. The only thing that bothers me about Brenda is this. She goes out and she goes after ghosts, the most scariest damn thing in the world, and yet she can't get on the radio and talk. That's the only thing I got going.
that sounds about right. That sounds about right.
Right. So, I mean, other than that, I mean, you got to have some exciting things that are, you know, are just going on. I mean, when you're doing this stuff. So, and you know, you're doing documentaries. You're, you know, you're working with some really good people. You've worked with TAPS. I mean, that's going to be an incredible journey right there.
You know, it is. I mean, I've been very lucky, very blessed to meet the people that I've met, to work with the people that I've worked with. You know, I do events all the time where there's a lot of the ghost hunters there. There's guys from the Deep South Paranormal TV show, Benny and Jonathan, that are out there. Chip Coffey's at a lot of these events. The Haunted Collector herself, John Zapp, is at these events. And over time now, they've become very good friends of mine. And you know, to the point that I can call them if I need help. Like I put a post out there on Facebook today. I received a call from Chip Coffey today out of the blue to talk about something personal that was going on. You know, it's nice to know that these people value me as a friend enough to call me like that and talk to me like that. And it really touches me, and it means a lot to me.
That guy always freaked me out.
I'm
sorry.
No, that's okay. It's like I'm nobody compared to them, and but it is. It's a very nice thing, and And I'm very grateful to have all these people around me and to have met them and given me the guidance and explain things to me when I needed help and guidance.
Now, he was on Paranormal State, right?
State.
Yeah.
Yep.
Paranormal State, yeah.
State and Psychic Kids.
Now, the one thing that I really liked about that show is it seemed, here's the deal. Now, I know that Brenda, she's got the hots for Zach, like, big times. But I've never really been a big fan of that show. She always tells me why I should like it, but to me, it's all, he's just got a big mouth. The other guys,
I did a few episodes with them, and I liked it. I liked the show a lot. They were nice to work with, but it's a different type of show. Each show has their own thing, and that's kind of their thing.
I got it. Okay, and I admit,
be a little bit more cockier.
Yeah, that's the one thing I do like is their shows were different. They weren't like the other ones. He was a little bit high strung, and the other guys were a little bit more reserved and stuff like that. Now, let me ask you this. Now, you've probably been to a lot of places. What would you say today's date would be the most scariest place you've gone to and a place that you would rather not go back to again?
Wow. That is, the second part of that is a very good question. I don't think I've ever been asked that. Scariest place I've ever been.
The scariest place I've ever been is my daughter's bedroom, so if that helps you.
I would have to say the scariest place that I've ever been to, believe it or not, is not a very well-known place outside of the Massachusetts area. Mm-hmm. It's actually a local insane asylum right down the road from me. It's kind of funny, within the Bridgewater Triangle, there's actually 3 insane asylums within the triangle, and each one of them are within 10-minute ride of one another. Mm-hmm. Which is very strange that you would have 3 of them that close to one another, and I'm talking big facilities. But the one that I would probably be very afraid of, not that I wouldn't go back there, but has given me the most chills or most hairs to stand up on me, would be that it would be called Pulver State School or State Insane Asylum. It's just massive. It's 37 buildings, 90 acres of land with 6 miles of tunnels underground. And the stuff that I've seen with my own eyes, the stuff that I've captured on recording, the stuff that I've seen on video that we captured has just been absolutely amazing. One of the probably top most active places that I've been to. I can't say enough. Like, it's just walking in the tunnels. It gives you that thick air feeling, like you're being watched. There's something there. Just walking in the tunnels, you have your recorder going. You'll be talking amongst yourselves, waiting to get to the spot that you're going to do an EVP session, and we'll leave our recorders going. We'll go back and listen to it later on, and you'll actually hear voices in the background talking over you or under you, saying, "Get out, you don't belong here, you're going to get hurt," things like that. And it's none of us talking. You can hear all of us talking. It's not one of us. It's just crazy, the stuff that we've got in there. Now, as for a place that I probably wouldn't go back to, honestly, it's not because it scared me. It's actually because it's too hyped up of a location with lack of evidence. I've been there now 4 times. And out of the 4 times, I have never gotten a single thing. But if you watch certain shows, not naming them, this location is the gates of hell. And it's Bobby Mackey's. I've been there 4 times, done 4 separate investigations there, and not once have I come out of there with an EVP. Not once have I come out of there with a personal experience. Nothing. So it's just kind of one of those places that I don't think I would ever go back to again. Just for that reason, because I don't think it's as haunted as what people make it out to be.
I actually, to be honest with you, you don't want to know my opinion on that. I think that place is nothing. There's nothing there. I believe it, and the only reason why I believe it is because we've had her on our show, and I've listened. Yeah, I've listened to her go on many, many paranormal shows, and I'm just gonna say this. And the only reason why I say it is because I think it's nothing more than a way for them to make money and keep the place open. That's it.
You know, maybe it could be. I mean, Bobby Mackey's Music World is a very busy location with the country music and the things that they got going on. But you know, it's got a great history.
Mm-hmm.
It's got a lot of history of bad things that happen, things like that. But I just truly, my personal experiences are none. So with me going there those 4 times and not having anything, I don't believe it's haunted. You know, I just don't. Now, can I prove that and guarantee it? Absolutely not. I talked to numerous people that have been there privately and with bigger groups, and they've had personal experiences. They have gotten EVPs. I'm just saying, from my perspective, I don't believe the place is haunted.
Well, I'm telling you it's not haunted. So we're on the same side, okay? Another place now, I know that there's this, Brenda says she won't go either. But anyway, another place that I actually, now I don't, forgive me for not knowing, you guys probably know it, but it was actually where they locked Zach inside this asylum. Yeah, they locked him inside it. Brenda will know in a heartbeat. I guarantee I'll have the name of it. And they literally...
I'm wondering if it's Waverly Hills.
I don't. All I know is they locked him in there at night, and there was up there in one of the rooms was a woman who was chained to a hot water heater, and she died there. You know what I'm saying?
Is that Rowan Hills Insane Asylum?
Hey, I would never know. But anyway, the story was just like horrific. I mean, that she ended up pregnant, and they chained her to this freaking hot water heater, and she lived out the rest of her days, and she died. And I was just like, you know.
Oh, that's not an insane asylum. That's the, I know exactly what you're talking about. That's the Goldfield Hotel out in Arizona. I believe it's not Arizona.
New Mexico.
I just, not even New Mexico. I believe it's the Goldfield Hotel. I know it's the Goldfield Hotel. I just can't think of where it is. But I know exactly which one you're talking about. Yeah.
Brenda says no, not the Rolling Hills. That's what she said.
No, it's Goldfield Hotel.
Okay. Well,
it's the Goldfield Hotel.
Okay. Well, anyway, yeah. I mean, that right there was like one of those moments where you just kind of like think, "Good God, you know, no wonder that she's haunting that place." I mean, she died a horrific death. I mean, it's just...
no, exactly. I'd have to say my number one place that actually I have 2 places. My top 2 places that I've wanted to go, and I don't think it'll ever happen just because, not that I couldn't get there. I mean, I would do whatever I could to get there. But one, I don't think they would let anybody in one of them anymore. And the other one just actually went up for sale not that long ago. And I don't know what the new owners are going to plan to do with it. I can only hope that they would open it up to the public. But my number 1 spot would be Chernobyl. My number 2 spot is Prevailia Island over in Italy.
Really?
Yes.
Now, I hear Europe is full of a lot of ghosts. I hear that's where they all go. Over in Europe. Medieval, you know.
I've had friends that have investigated over there, and they tell me certain places are very, very active. Very active.
That's history over there, wouldn't you think?
I totally agree with that. And that's why, and honestly, that's why I believe that the New England area and Massachusetts in general, and some of the smaller surrounding states in Mass, like Rhode Island, New Hampshire, I believe that's why they're so rich in hauntings and things going on. Because if you think about it, I mean, we were the first place that started in the United States. You know, we were the first where the colonies landed. So it's, you know, we date back so far. There's so much history that's going on here, so much horrific death, whether it was with the Indians or even with settlers, or even to this day, Salem, Mass, the witch trials. You know, there's so much horrific death that's happened.
I was just going to actually ask you about that, because I've heard a lot of stories about the witches, you know, the witch hunts and stuff like that, how a lot of people were, you know, just butchered, you know, in those days and stuff like that. And, I mean, do you believe in witches?
You know, I don't believe per se in witches. I believe that there's the Wiccan practice. And I guess, I mean, if you want to say that is a witch, okay, because they practice Wiccan, okay. But I don't per se that I believe they're a witch that has magical powers and, you know, the stamp that they're put with, you know, oh, they have witches have magical powers. They can change you into things, and they can, you know, make you do evil things and all this. I don't believe in that. Right. Do I believe that there is a religion called Wiccan and that people practice that? Absolutely. I know people that are Wiccan and practice that. But as for the per se witch, like, you know, what they believed back then, no, I don't believe that there is an actual witch out there.
Right.
That can do magic on people.
I don't know, man. I've seen some pretty scary people. I mean, seriously. I mean, you know, and now one of the things that I'd love, you know, I'd love to go explore some of these places, but there ain't nowhere in hell you'd get me to do it at night. There's like this.
Well, you know, it's funny you say that, because one of the detectives that I'm very, very good friends with, this gentleman, I grew up in the town that I lived in of Freetown, where the cult murders happened. He was the detective that dealt with all the cases, and when he comes to some of these lectures to talk about the documentary and the filming of it, he'll tell you straight out. He's a gentleman that carried a gun, worked this area for many years, right. 20 or 30 years. He took care of he was the one that dealt with all this stuff. And to this day, he will not step forest. He will not step foot in that forest after night, even carrying a gun, because of the stuff that goes on in that forest still to this day.
Yeah, right. Well, actually, Brenda said that she'd like to see Waverly Hills and the USS Hornet.
Which one is it?
Waverly Hills and the USS Hornet. That's on her bucket list of things she wants to do. So,
you know, I've been on the Hornet. The Hornet's unbelievable, very active. As for Waverly Hills, I've been invited there 3 times. Unfortunately, I've had to turn it down. Just got invited there the week of July 20th. There's an event going on, and I had to turn it down again because I'm booked at another location. Right. I've yet to see this place, and I've heard that it's going to be partially torn down and turned into a hotel.
Really? Yeah, you better get out there quick.
I don't know how much... Yeah, exactly. I don't know how much longer of a chance I'm going to have, because from what I understand, they're turning the first 2 floors of Waverly Hills into a hotel, and then the last 3 floors, along with the body chute, will still remain that people can investigate. But the first 2 floors are going to be actual hotel, and that's a shame, because the first floor is a very active floor. It actually has the morgue in it too.
Right. Actually, being on I know the story about the USS Hornet, and actually we have a World War II submarine up here in Michigan. It's called USS Silverside, and actually a team of investigators had went up there to the USS Silverside and did an investigation, and they were amazed, that what they come back with is they actually. One of the people had caught an EVP, and it was you could barely hear it in the background. It's like right in the background, but it just sounds like this guy saying he goes steady forward, and we asked people, did anybody ever die on here? And no one could ever tell us that anybody died on USS Silverside, but the thing about it is it's a World War II vessel that, did go to war and stuff like that. So, I mean, I can just imagine what a lot of these, like going on to Missouri. I bet you the Missouri has stories to tell itself. So,
oh, absolutely. Any of those ships that were in World War I or II, I guarantee you that even though the ship maybe didn't get hit, they were probably carrying people that got hurt during the war. So, and there's a very good chance that those people that got hurt were hurt so bad that they could have died on the ship. So, not per se, like the ship got hit with a bomb and it went down and, not like that, but, people could have gotten hurt during the war, got put on those ships to be brought home, to be taken care of, and that's when they passed away on that ship. So very well could have been people on there that were hurt like that.
Right. You never know, right? You never know.
No, you don't.
So,
you don't.
Well, why don't you tell the audience, how they can get in touch with you and follow you on Facebook if you got a website, because and I'd actually like to have you back on my show here again because I really enjoyed talking with you. I think you're.
I would love to be back. We could talk for another hour or two if we wanted to, because we pre-talking with you before the show, we have a lot in common. We have some mutual friends that we all know, and, outside of the paranormal is what I'm saying, in the music business, and so it'd be good to get back on and just talk about something a little different. And but no, I'd love to come back. And for anybody that's looking to find me to see where I'm going to be next for events, things like that, you can find me at my own website, which is NE for New England, so neparanormalresearch.com. You can find me on Facebook under John Brightman, or you can find the Facebook page of New England Paranormal Research. You can also, if you're looking to have me at an event, see where more events in your area that are coming up. We actually have a few events coming up in the Michigan area coming up very soon. And you can go to www.idealeventmanage.com, and that's the management company that represents me, along with a bunch of other people from TAPS and from different shows that you've seen on TV. And he lists a bunch of events where you can find us all at. So those are the places that you can find us, or find me.
Oh, there you go. That's actually probably pretty cool, isn't it?
It is. These events are a lot of fun. I got one in 2 weeks that we're doing at Fort Mifflin down in Pennsylvania, and it's a great lineup. It's, let me see, Stephen Tango from Ghost Hunters, Amy Bruni, Adam, and Chris Williams from Ghost Hunters, and obviously Chris is from Ghost Hunters International. Josh Gates and Ryder from Destination Truth are going to be there. And John Zaffis, his son and daughter, Chris and Amy from Hornet Collector, are going to be there.
Oh, those guys are freaks.
Great event.
Haunted Collectors?
Yeah.
Yeah,
What's that? Yeah, Haunted Collector, great guys, great people. I've known John for a long time, but great gentlemen with a lot of knowledge and everything. But they're great events. It's fun, and you get to go out and meet the people. You get to walk around and work with all of us in different locations. We're all set up in different areas, so it's a great time when you do the ideal events. And like I said, there's a couple, I believe, coming up in your area. I forgot what they are, but there's a couple I know that are coming up in the Michigan area. And then this week I'm actually looking forward to it. I got invited to go to Walker Stalker Con here in Boston, which is a Walking Dead convention. And I'm going to be set up there doing basically lectures and stuff. So it's going to be fun. It really is. Now, when I was mentioning the events in Michigan, I'm not sure how far you are away from and I know I'm going to butcher this, and please forgive me. Manistee. Did I say that correctly?
Yep.
Yes, Manistee, Michigan.
Yep.
Well, I guess they're doing an event up there with the Deep South Paranormal guys and Haunted Collector himself at the SS City of Milwaukee and the Arcadia.
Yep.
Arcadia. Yeah, they're going to be doing an event up there on July 26th.
Oh, wow.
So
I know that there's
yeah,
a big state hospital up here that people have been trying to get in for years, and just I think it was like 3 months ago, they announced that they're going to actually start taking reservations for paranormal investigators. This hospital is huge. It's actually one of the biggest psychiatric hospitals. Is state hospital is what it was, and it's located up in Traverse City. So it's going to be kind of neat to see what's actually going on there. It hasn't been opened up in over 45 years. So.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It's a big place, man. It's a huge place. So, but anyway, all right. So do you have any parting words any messages you'd like to get out there to the audience tonight?
I think, the biggest thing that I have to say is if you're going to go and investigate, there's a couple of things that you should do. A, if you...
Did I lose you? I must have lost you. All right, well, that was our guest. I really like this guy. I really do. I don't know what's actually happened to him. He might have lost connection here. Leave it to Skype to do something like that. Who knows? But anyway, I want to thank everybody for coming in to the show and listening tonight. It was an amazing, amazing show. With John Brightman, and I do want to get him back on the show. I think he dropped his call, and we'll get him back on the show, and we'll hear his parting words again. And I really, 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 really want to thank Brenda for getting him on the show and stuff like that. Brenda, get a word for him that his call did drop, and we're ending the show right now. But anyway, I want to thank everybody for listening again. Hey, if you're going to be downtown, go to Joe's Wood Nickel. Tonight they're going to be jamming out there, and the beer's always good, and the food is excellent. And also, hey, if you want to pay a little bit of attention, if you're on Grand Haven, you want to find out what's going on, go to Grand Haven Informed. A lot of people inside there talking and stuff like that, giving advice, and pretty much a lot of girls in there. I'll tell you that right now. It's more of I try to stay out of there now because I got my butt handed to me too many times. All right, we'll see you guys next time this Friday in Late Night with Rob and Chris here on GHTR, the nation's podcast radio. You're listening to GHTR, nationwide podcast radio, www.ghtalkradio.com.